Hey, alright, so I'm getting ready to put this Subaru 5MT 5-speed manual transmission back together, and I figured I'd show you guys what's going on inside, just in case anyone's ever curious about what's going on inside their 5-speed manual transmission. So over here we have the input shaft. Comes in, these splines would mate with your clutch disc. You got a seal here to keep the oil from coming out, and then you get supported by a bearing on either end. It drives the main shaft. Some of these gears in this particular application are actually cast into the shaft. You can see here the first gear and the reverse drive gear are actually cast into the shaft. And then the rest of these kind of free spin, and you've got your synchros and gear selectors for those other gears. Back here on the tail, there's normally a tail shaft here that houses the center differential, and it also houses the shift rod. So this right here is going to be your 1-2 shifter. So if you think about the way the shifter comes down between these rods and pivots, when you pull the stick to the left, the bottom of it comes to the right and catches this fork. And then when you push it forward, it actually pulls backwards on this rod. And in this case, it took this gear ring and meshed it down here with your first gear drive. So then when you turn it, you can see the output splines right here are going to turn at the at that ratio. And then if you were to go forward on this selector, it now puts you into second gear, and it'll change the output drive ratio a little bit. Right? And so then when you put that back in neutral, the middle one is going to be your third, fourth gear selector. So right here, you can see that moves this synchro and gear selector up into mesh with third gear. Once again, changing your output drive ratio. And then if you pull that back, same way, right, that goes into fourth gear. Right there. So now we're meshed up with fourth gear, once again, increasing the drive ratio. Ideally, in a lot of transmissions, not necessarily with this one, but that's going to be about your 1-to-1 drive ratio. The final selector over here, this one serves two purposes. This either locks you into fifth gear or into reverse in this case. So we'll go fifth gear first, right? So we push that forward, meshes these gears with this gear selector, and then once again you have now in fifth gear you're going to have a much higher drive ratio. This is obviously the top gear for this transmission. Okay. So now if we take that same gear selector lever and we pull it to the rear of the transmission, it's a little stiff. Alright, apologize about that. Had to cut the video there for a second. I was having trouble getting that to shift into reverse. Right, so now it's in reverse. And in this case, you can see there's another smaller gear that is down below, and it's a straight cut gear. See how all of the other ones are helical, right? Meaning that they are cut at an angle, whereas the reverse is a straight cut gear. A lot of high-performance applications will use a straight-cut gear because they are generally stronger. However, they do make quite a bit more noise. So if you ever notice that when you're driving in reverse, your car has a little bit of a whine to it, that's why. It's because those gears are straight-cut instead of helical. Okay, so in this case, now you can see that it changes the direction of the output at roughly the same ratio as your first gear drive. Okay, so now this next feature is unique to the Subarus, well, other all-wheel drive applications, but this is the secondary shaft, right, which has got all of the driven gears being driven by the main shaft. And in this particular case, this shaft is actually hollow. And the reason for that is because inside is a pinion shaft, right? This is normally coupled by your center differential. It takes the output from the secondary shaft or the output shaft, and then the center differential splits some of that torque between this inner center shaft here, which goes to the front differential, or to the rear, to the drive shaft, right? So in this case, as I turn that, you can see that it's turning this pinion gear, which rotates the front differential. In this case, it's just an open diff, very much like you'd find in the majority of rear-wheel drive vehicles, but in this case, it's housed inside the transmission, and then this is the output where your front drive shaft or half shafts would be splined in to provide power to your front wheels. So So there it is, folks, a general rundown of the inner workings of a 5-speed, in this case a Subaru 5MT. Always interested to hear feedback and or questions, so if you have any comments, questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.